Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. I'm your host, Amanda, and my awesome co-host is...
Hello, I'm Megan.
So we are your source for messy, imperfect homeschool advice and community. So if you're new here, we are experienced homeschool moms and educators, so you can trust the advice. It is solid. And we homeschool very differently, so there's almost always something in there for everyone. But we definitely aren't over here doling out advice that is so far-fetched it would be impossible to implement on the regular.
Exactly. We see so many homeschool accounts that are just curated beyond measure. Every single thing is just perfect, and happy all the time. And here's the deal. We love homeschooling. We say it all the time. We love homeschooling. We love doing life and being with our respective kiddos. We would not change the choices that we've made that have gotten us to this point. We're very content, but our days are hardly picture perfect. We have great days. We have plenty of status quo days, which is how the vast majority of the world who isn't influencing lives their lives. We have rough days. Oh, yes. And then we have days that just cannot freaking end fast enough where you're like, I just need this day to end. There's nothing salvaging this day at this point. So our blend of messy and imperfect advice means it's doable and rooted in real life and not a fake social media persona that is unattainable, even to the person presenting the fake social media persona.
Right? And look, while we are on a roll explaining who we are and what we're about, we'll let you know that, yes, we, Megan and I, are moms. And depending on where you're streaming this episode, you might have noticed an explicit indicator because, yes, we are unfiltered. And sometimes that means curse words. But everyone is welcome here. However you identify, whatever your family makeup is, welcome, right? Settle in, be yourself. We are thrilled you found us.
Yeah, exactly. You do you. If you're anything like us, you are positively over trying to mold yourself into spaces that aren't made for you. And depending on where you live, your only choices in the homeschool world might be trying to fix your face while listening to other homeschool parents spew their latest quote unquote research about chemtrails or how poisonous sunblock is. Or your alternative might just be making no homeschool friends at all because that might be all there is in your area. Because we know from experience that finding secular progressive spaces in the homeschool world can be challenging.
Right? I mean, for sure. And listen, if just the quick dig at chemtrails is enough to make you stop and think like, maybe these are my people, go ahead and give us a follow so we're easy to find in the future. You can follow us wherever you're listening on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, all of the places. But also, just so we are super clear, we are a space that loudly affirms we believe trans lives matter. And if you're worried about who is peeing in the closed bathroom stall beside you, you are the one with issues. You are the problem. Pee, wash your hands, and then move on with your day. It is really not that complicated.
Yeah, I am much more concerned in the company of a straight white man than I am in the company of a trans individual. Like, it's not even a comparison. It's not even like it just edged out a little, not even close.
Well, and let's be real, because we don't do vibes around here. We do actual research and data that is 100% backed up by all of the
Right.
research and data and stats, right? Like, this is not a question.
Yeah. Oh, I teach, as you know, a feminist book club throughout the school year. And we did a whole thing on statistics about female surgeons, which then led into statistics about other things. And one of them was violent crimes. And one of them was that women are always labeled emotional, but we looked at the percentages of violent crimes. And it's like, well, who's emotional now, right? And so it was funny because I saw a meme online a couple of days later that had a woman in a forklift or something like that. And she had on a high vis vest and a hard hat. And it said, like, wants to be equal to men, but isn't willing to commit 95% of all violent crimes. Like, what gives, right? And I sent it to my students. They were cracking up. They were like, yes, exactly, right? You know? Yeah.
Look, you need to more violent crimes. That's it. Like, equality. A better paycheck is right around the corner if you just start committing more violent crimes. Right?
Exactly. Apparently that's what we've been missing this whole time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. P.S. I had a conversation. I haven't even had a chance to tell you about this. I sent somebody a link to our episode about online platforms, I think it was. And they commented and was like, I didn't know I was going to be lectured about politics. She goes, I thought I was just going to be learning about online platforms. And I replied and I was like, it was only a lecture if you don't believe those same things. If you're diametrically opposed to those things, it might have felt like a lecture to you. If you're not and you're with us, it's a pep rally. This is like an amazing rally where you're like, yes,
Really?
these are my people. So I'm like, you've just spoken volumes. Anyway, for the people who do or don't want to hear those things, we're going to tell you anyway. We also affirm that no human being is illegal, and you don't get to stand on your soapbox and lecture us on the law about immigration or anything else when you voted for a felon. We are recording this shortly after the Supreme Court ruling upheld the payment to E. Jean Carroll. And all I could think was like, when even freaking Clarence Thomas rules against you on a matter in this realm, that speaks volumes.
I mean, I bet Anita Hill has some thoughts and feelings about that coming from him of all people. But I'm doing my best to avoid that soapbox moment. So I'm just going to say we are not your typical homeschool space. If you follow us on social media, we promise not to pull a bait and switch and start promoting raw milk or posting crap from Fox News and True Social like it's actually factual. It's not going to happen. So settle in, join us wherever you want to join us. We're happy you're here.
We might screenshot those to make fun of them, but
It's true. Yes. They make great point counterpoint things or an opportunity to be like, hey, did you realize that this looks exactly like this thing from 1930s Germany? But we're not going to be like, look at this. Isn't it wonderful? We spent millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, to help his friend. Okay. So anyway, for today's episode, getting off of my soapbox, I'm trying. We'll see how it goes. Today's episode, we're going to be exploring ways to boost your confidence as a homeschooling grown-up. It feels like second guessing decisions and stressing you'll completely mess this up is as much a part of homeschooling as curriculum and teaching critical thinking. But I promise, if you're feeling that way, you are absolutely 100% not alone.
no.
Those emotions are so, so common. And not just for newbies. Veterans absolutely have those moments, those seasons too.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to be sharing 10 ways that you can level up your confidence and quiet the doubts and fears. However, before we jump in, we start every episode with our weekly recap. It's just one more way we like to share a glimpse into the real world of homeschooling, not the influencer world. We'll share the good, the bad, the messy, all of it so that you know you're not alone. So how's your week been, Amanda?
I'm going to be honest, because that's what we do around here. It's summer, which is usually a more relaxed time for us. I mean, we homeschool year round, as in we still complete curriculum and online courses over the summer. But most of the work that gets done is just less, like way less. And we're failing at even that. My preteen is pretty self-directed, which most of the time works out really well, but he has been very much not self-directed the last several weeks. And I've been just incredibly busy and stressed and overwhelmed, and also not providing much accountability, which is often necessary with self-directed learners.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're trying to find a better rhythm for us. This is exactly why we need so much structure in our homeschooling. We've talked about it. We've done entire episodes about how much structure you need and what structure needs to look like. Without structure for us, it is really easy for us to go several weeks of being busy with all of the things and then enjoying personal projects and friends and family time. And suddenly we realize that we didn't actually finish any of the educational projects that we loosely scheduled for the month. So yeah, we're in that. We're trying to find a better rhythm. I don't Life is not slowing down like I thought it was going to, so I don't know how that's going to work. But summer's been tricky this year. Summer's been a little harder for us than usual. It's even a different kind of vibe and rhythm than we've had the last few years. So I think that's definitely playing into it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
How-
think from what you've said too throughout the school year that his social life has changed a bit too, as far as his friend group, not in a bad way. He's evolving the way preteens do. So your social life then changes and your schedule then changes along with that, since you're still looped into that at his age. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that's it
everything's
exactly.
that's the one consistent thing, change. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. And yeah, that's so much time spent with friends, which is great. And it is so important. I absolutely totally get that. It's just making it hard to make sure that we find the time to do the other things that we planned and we, again, tentatively scheduled in. We loosely plan to do it. And in our home, if we don't have specific plans, we're going to do it on this day at this time, or this day is set aside to take care of this thing. It just doesn't happen
Mhm.
because there are so many other things that we could be doing or we end up doing. So, yeah, we need to buckle down on that. But how about you? What
Mhm.
do you got going on?
Yeah, I'm going to say I am stressed, tired, and anxious as hell, which is not usually like my standard update. I do a lot of like status quo kind of updates.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things where I was telling Amanda the other day, I can't even really pinpoint why I'm so anxious completely. So that makes it hard because I've been an anxious person long enough to kind of have some ways to kick myself out of it or logic my way out of it in some cases if I can, but I can't even really pinpoint in some cases what it is. And anxiety is exhausting. So that's where the tired is coming in. And no matter how much I'm sleeping, I would like to sleep more. So yeah, I'm just trying kind of as hard as I can, I guess, to kind of break out of that cycle and just be like, okay, we just need to put one foot in front of the other and get back to doing what we do. So hopefully that happens at some point because I'm trying. So yeah, there's that. My oldest kiddo was taking a Python class through John Hopkins over the summer. He finished that last week. And I was really happy for him because it was asynchronous, which is not usually his jam. He's not a lover of asynchronous. But I talked to him about it at the beginning and was like, you can come and hang out in my room at 3 o'clock every day if that's what you need as far as accountability, like some body doubling or something like that. And the first week or two, I kind of touched base with him and I was getting the vibe that it was too much touching base as far as like, he was like, I got this, like, I'm doing okay. And I was like, okay. And so then I touched base less, but he finished it last week. He had all of his assignments in on time. He's supposed to get his grade from the registrar after like a week. We don't really care about grades, but it'll just be nice, especially because it was asynchronous. It's more about like the fact that he did that thing even than the coding and stuff like that. But yeah, so it was a really cool class. It was through Johns Hopkins. They have for juniors, seniors, recent grads, some kind of bridge classes into their technical and engineering programs, just so you can kind of explore them and get a feel for what they are and what that might be so that you can decide if that's a path you want to explore in university or whatever. So it was good. So yeah, there's that. And then my daughter's been hunting for a microscope. I don't know if you've seen the emails in our shared inbox for Homeschool Moms Unfiltered, Amanda, but one of our Patreon members I couldn't tell you exactly. She has a master's in super duper fancy biology or something. I don't know. She's a science badass. That's what I know. And so my daughter's been looking for a microscope for a very specific project regarding fine fibers for something that she'd like to do. And she'll be in the US next month for a weaving conference. So it's kind of the perfect time where she'll have more access to stuff that we can't necessarily always get or we'd have to ship in and it would cost more and blah, blah, blah. So she's been kind of working on that, but I don't know shit about microscopes. But that's the thing. It's kind of the same as homeschooling when people are like, oh, what if I don't teach this thing? Or what if I drop the ball on this? Or what if my kid isn't good at this thing? And it's like, okay, I don't know shit about microscopes, but I know scientists. I can find them, right? I mean, she
Yeah.
had a friend in kindergarten whose dad is a PhD something biologist who studies hookworms in soil in Africa. So we sent him the links that she found. We sent our Patreon member the links, and we've just been fiddling with all that feedback and trying to make decisions and stuff. So it's the same thing as with your kids. If they don't know something, they just need to know how to get the information. And so we're doing that thing.
Yep.
So yeah, it's like one thing after the next. That's kind of the unschooling teen life is like this random thing, that random thing. I'm totally into this random thing. I need help with that random thing. And so I do those random things. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, friends. All right. So Today, we're talking confidence in homeschooling. We have already established that it is completely natural to doubt yourself and worry about the choices that you're making today, your kiddo's future success, everything else that you're worrying about that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 3 o'clock in the morning. All totally natural. So you are not alone. Homeschooling is outside the status quo for education. And sometimes that can make it feel bold, dangerous, risky, rebellious. I mean, take your pick of any other adjective that you want to and shove it in there. It can be any of those things. And that is true in the US, where homeschooling is super common, way more common than it is in other parts of the world. And so if you happen to be listening to us from outside of the US in a place where it's less common, I really imagine those feelings would be intensified like tenfold.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not there, but I can only imagine not having that community, definitely harder. And it can absolutely feel like you're in uncharted territory and totally alone, right? We've often said that confidence comes with time and doing. It slowly starts to build. So the doubts you feel today will be less a bit, hopefully, in a month, and less in 6 months and a year, and so on and so on. And while we stand by that, we also think that there are some things you can do to accelerate your confidence as a homeschool parent or caregiver, as the grown up in the equation. So today we have a top 10 list for you. We're going to try. We're going to try to keep it to just 10 bullet points that you can work with.
We've got this.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're off to a diversion already. Okay. Before we start with number one, I just want to say, we've said this before. We'll say it again. The fact that you are worried and that you're here listening to this shows that you care. You are committed to growing as a homeschool parent and the success of your kiddo or kiddos if you're here doing this thing. So we know you can do this. But like Amanda said today, we'll do specific strategies that you can implement so that hopefully the doubt and the panic becomes less and a little more scattered. And you can really start to believe that you can do it too, because we know you can. So here we go. First step, learn how children actually learn. So for many people, ambiguity is the lousiest footing for confidence. They want to know solid, factual things that they can stand on top of to feel confident.
Yeah.
Now, I say many people because the other day I was scrolling and I saw this blonde woman filming a video in her car. Don't know why it's always in the car. She was maybe in her 20s and she confidently proclaimed that dinosaurs weren't real. And then she went on to say something like, I know, you're going to say, what about all the dinosaur bones? But then she doubled down and she said they could have been giants or dragons. She said the government could have planted them there. And she proudly said that she didn't care about any facts that people could throw at her to refute what she was saying. So she does not seem to have a problem with ambiguity. My anxious ass does. Okay.
I'm going to say maybe she's reading too much of the fantasy smut that I read if she thinks giants or dragons are more likely than dinosaurs as far as bones we're excavating. But, All right. So when it comes to confidence and homeschooling, not smut reading, ambiguity, not so helpful. We are firm believers that confidence grows when you understand learning itself. We're talking about understanding things like the fact that learning isn't linear. Children don't steadily climb upward. They leap ahead in some areas and at certain times, and they plateau at other times or other areas, and sometimes even seem to move backwards before suddenly it just clicks and it works. That is common. Children forget and relearn. Also incredibly common. Forgetting isn't always a sign that learning didn't happen. Every time a child retrieves and relearns information, those neural pathways become stronger. And it's important to remember that the average neurotypical kiddo might need to see or go over things as many as 7 or 8 times before it's fully converted to long-term memory. This isn't failure. It's just how brains work, and understanding that can help it not feel so bad when you're like, but we just went over this yesterday. How do you not remember it? Or we covered this last year in math. How is this not what's happening here? Also, curiosity matters. A child who genuinely wants to understand something will often remember it far longer than something they just had to memorize simply because it was assigned or there was a worksheet on it or it can be some kind of a test. Like we already said, retrieval strengthens memory, the act of pulling the information out of your brain, whether that is through conversation or we've talked about this before in other episodes, teaching someone else, or even answering questions, whether it's verbal or worksheets or whatever. That retrieval, it helps make learning stick. And then another one that's really important to remember is that real learning happens through all kinds of things, through conversation, play, projects, books, experiences, mistakes, and repetition, as well as it can be worksheets and workbooks and textbooks and tests and things like that, if that's how you want to do it. But some of the deepest learning happens when children are living life and asking questions and trying things and making mistakes and then connecting ideas across all of those different experiences. Real learning does not require sitting at a desk. It can include desk work or textbooks, but that is not the whole picture. So, the more you understand the science behind learning, the less an off day or even a regression feels like a failure or an emergency. It's just the way kids learn.
Exactly. It's natural development.
Yep.
Okay. Number two, also related to knowledge building. And this one is to dig in and understand child development. Now, we just did an episode about what is age and developmentally appropriate for early childhood education a couple of weeks ago. But the number of posts we see where parents are frustrated because they're working against those natural developmental timelines and rhythms is no small thing.
No, absolutely. The most traditional school systems are perfectly fine trying to shove a square peg into a round hole and make the learning happen or proclaim that it worked even when it didn't. And the thing is, none of us need to look very hard or very far to find horror stories of kids who just got left behind or overlooked when they couldn't keep up with classroom expectations. So you end up looking at a niece who is bringing home chapter books from school, or a nephew who is expected to write full sentences and pass written spelling tests in kindergarten. And now you're stressing because your kiddo is still slowly plodding along through basic phonics. But if you have a solid understanding of child development, it is easier to remind yourself that your kiddo is moving along just fine. They are progressing. And unless there's some other big concern there, you can just focus on the fact that developmentally, they're moving forward, they're making progress. Done and done.
Yeah. And that extends well into teenager land, where you'll have days where they do something that just has you scratching your head and thinking, holy crap, I'm supposed to send this person out into the world like soon. And they just did that. Like, oh my God, I have completely failed. They are not ready. But when you understand child development, you realize that that's totally on par with their developmental trajectory and it's going to be okay. Do you remember when your kids were small and they would have these growth spurts? And one of the ways you would know a growth spurt was coming was because they'd get clumsy. Did your
Yeah.
kiddo do that? I
Still,
mean, they would,
still as a
yeah,
preteen, like, whoa, all arms,
we
all
are.
legs, and they're not in sync.
No. And I mean, we are in a clumsy phase where last night, I kid you not, in the span of an hour, one kid knocked an entire thing of toothpicks out of the kitchen cabinet while getting a tea bag or seasoning or something out. Toothpicks everywhere, just everywhere. And then within that same hour, the other kiddo comes out and goes, I just knocked the box of Q-tips off the shelf in the bathroom. I picked them all up, but I put them on the bathroom sink because I didn't know if you'd want me to throw them out. And I was like, well, they've been on the bathroom floor, so I'm going to go with yes, but thanks for letting me know. I mean, there's like 200 toothpicks, 200 Q-tips. In an hour, we knocked 400 things out of boxes. I'm like, how did you, what? But here's where we're at, okay? But a lot of times when we see conversations like that, that panic is coming from expecting skills before brains and sometimes bodies, as we just said, are ready. So remember that even when we graduate a typical 18-year-old, their brain still is not fully developed. But when we know the science behind those developmental milestones, it helps ease the angst over the toothpicks and the Q-tips and everything else that goes on. So examples of some of these things would be not reading at 5. Okay. It's fine. Messy handwriting. Totally fine. It's also a wildly common thing with neurodivergent kids. It might never go away, and that's also totally fine. Emotional regulation, and you're thinking toddlers, but I have teenagers. You should be thinking all the years, okay? Attention span, and we're not just talking ADHD. Attention span wanes in different points of child development. It's totally natural. Executive functioning skills, they ebb and flow too. There's a lot of scaffolding and mirroring that needs to go on. It's okay. But if you know what's developmentally appropriate, it makes you far less likely to think, I suck at this. My kid's never going to amount to anything, and I've made the wrong decision.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. So next, number 3, define success before you actually start. So please don't get too literal with this one. Remember, flexibility and adaptability are super important when
Mhm.
homeschooling. And plus, also, we know that all homeschool journeys are unique. Sometimes you make a plan to homeschool and have time to prepare and ease into it. Sometimes you get thrown in because of safety issues at school or a medical issue or supports being removed or any other number of urgent issues where you just get thrown into the deep end of homeschooling and you're desperately trying to tread water and not drown and also figure out homeschooling, right? So we will start by saying that no matter where you are or how your homeschool journey begins, it is important to take time to deschool, both for you and your kiddo. It will help a ton. I usually use like a relationship analogy for time. I'm going to keep it short, but basically, deschooling is dealing with your baggage. If you jump from one relationship to another without dealing with your baggage, it's going to make it a lot harder than it needs to be. If you're here and you're like, please don't gloss over this, I really need more about it, we have an entire episode on deschooling. Go give it a listen after you finish this episode. There's lots of information there. It's also in our book, if a book or a worksheet, our online course as well. If some sort of method like that works better for you, you can go check those out. But we've done lots on deschooling. It's pretty easy to find. And if you need our help, send us a message. We can point you in the right direction. But before you actively start homeschooling, define what success looks like to you in a month, in a year, and possibly even long term, always keeping in mind that you can come back and tweak it or change it completely when appropriate. Because if you do not define it yourself, everyone else around you will start to define it for you. And we all know that trying to live up to other people's expectations is not the best way to build your own confidence.
Yeah. So, okay, how are you going to do this? You might start by asking yourself questions like, what kind of adult are we hoping to have at the end of this journey? And we don't just mean academically. Homeschooling is about the entire person, not just stuff that comes from a textbook. You might ask yourself, what skills do you want your child to possess when they launch out into the world? What personality traits you would like to foster and cultivate in your child on this journey? Are you looking for curiosity, kindness, independence, resilience, ambitiousness, creativity? The list can include whatever you want it to. But if you create that list, you have something to work backwards from as you make your decisions and do your planning. So you can measure progress against your key goals, not what the public school is doing with their third graders or what your neighbor's kid brings home or what your sister's child is doing. And therefore your sister says your child should be doing. Everything that you do can be weighed against those goals. Your decisions, your purchases, your worries can go back to that list and it becomes super helpful. And again, you can recalibrate whenever necessary. You can let go of worries that are outside of this scope and say, okay, that's not one of my goals. I don't need to focus on that right now.
Absolutely. So, our next confidence booster, number 4, for those keeping track, is make sure you personalize your homeschool journey. So often We see people asking for vague curriculum suggestions in Facebook groups. And look, you might lean hardcore aggressive academic homeschooler like me, and the hippiest of hippies, Megan, might reply with a suggestion. And if they don't know your approach to learning and you don't know theirs, it won't be possible for you to see the disconnect and be like, that's a great idea for someone else or for another person's homeschooling journey, but it's not really right for me. And then the next thing you know, you've spent hundreds of dollars on a curriculum that couldn't be a worse fit for your homeschool life, or you've tried something that you're just like, I feel like we've wasted a bunch of time and we're totally down the wrong path. And now we've got to double back. And like, not ideal. Understanding what works best for your family and your kiddo or kids is a great way to boost confidence. It will allow you to see those posts in all of those different groups from other homeschoolers or engage in conversation with another homeschool parent at a park play date. And you can celebrate their journey without it also leading to you second guessing your own homeschool journey.
Exactly. I can be perfectly happy for something that your kiddo is up to without thinking, oh shit, should I be homeschooling the way Amanda should be? Am I missing the ship because I'm not using the same program Amanda's using? Is it bad that I've been structuring our lives this way for the last decade plus? Are my kids lacking because I'm not doing that thing? And that's the case because I know that I'm on my journey and it's what fits us, and you're on your journey and it fits you. And the way our kids learn, our long-term goals, our household cultures and ideals, and all that stuff, it's different. And so our journeys are going to look different, and it's okay.
Absolutely. And look, FOMO is real. I'm not going to sit here
Mhm.
and lie to you and pretend like it's not. There is much to be said for deciding what you want to do and being content that what you are doing is enough. You do not have to fit neatly into a box or a label, right? It doesn't need to be traditional or Charlotte Mason or unschooling or Waldorf or whatever else. Truly, so many homeschoolers fall into the eclectic category because the beauty of homeschooling is flexibility and being able to pull some from here and pull some from there and make it work for you. So build what truly works for you and your family, but really try to know what that thing is. Define it as best you can, outline it, and then own it with confidence. Otherwise, you run the risk of social media posts being enough to turn your stomach into knots with doubts and concerns. And if it's really hard to stick to one singular definition, maybe set some boundaries for yourself. Something like, this is what it looks like for us for the next 6 months or for this school year. And then we can revisit. But if you find yourself revisiting every time a social media post catches your eye, it means that you're essentially spinning like one of those whirly gigs. And that's just going to make you dizzy, not confident,
Yeah, that sounds awful.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay to change. It's okay to tweak. It's okay to think, I want to keep that in mind if this doesn't work, but don't do that every day or even every week or every month. It's too much.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Number 5, stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Comparison can do a real number on your confidence. I recently shared that I started going to the gym. Am I the wimpiest person in body pump? Fuck yeah, I totally am. You should see some of these buff women stacking plates on their bars. Okay. And I'm over there literally with the tiniest plates that are on the rack at the back that are options for the class. And I put them on there and I'm doing pretty good. But by the end of some of the songs, I'm like, oh shit, this really hurts and it's really burning. Right. But I'm at the beginning and they're clearly not. Okay. So the same is true for homeschooling. Social media and quick conversations at a meetup will give you a snapshot of someone's life and journey, but you don't know their child, their finances, their schedule, their support system, their values, their struggles. And so if you're like, I'm not doing as much as they are or as well as they are or whatever, you don't have the complete picture.
If you have been listening to us for a while, you know this. If this is a new episode, let's be really clear about it. We are all about sharing a balanced, complete picture of homeschooling. Way, way too many people in our society only show their highlight reels. Do their kids have meltdowns too? Of course they do. Come on. They just might not be telling you about them. Did they have to save all year to provide a specific educational opportunity for their kiddo? It's very possible. I know I do. I've started saving now for a camp I want my kiddo to do next summer. These are things that not everyone is going to share with you. If you struggle with this, with comparing yourself to someone else's middle or their highlight reel, maybe come up with some sort of mantra for yourself that you can repeat when these encounters start to rattle your confidence. It might be something like comparison is the thief of joy, or something that's a little bit more snarky, like their highlight reel has more holes than Swiss cheese. Whatever works, snarky or profound, say it as often as you need. Write it out, use it as a sticky note on your bathroom mirror, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I live by a mantra. I have all sorts of wacky things that are super helpful for me. Whatever works.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, now look, we have 6 to 10 to go still, but just a quick reminder to go check out our website, homeschoolmomsunfiltered.com. We have built nearly everything we wish existed when we were just starting out as homeschoolers. We have published books and unit studies galore. We have an entire online community with live support meetings and grown up socials for connection and community. We have a virtual book club that covers parenting and homeschooling books, which honestly is awesome because discussing it with other parents and caregivers and getting to understand their perspectives and experiences, it allows us to just take away so much more from these books than if we're just reading it in our own little silo, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, lists from our list, number one and number two, we're about learning how kids learn, learning how the brain works, all this kind of stuff. We're getting all that because we're constantly reading these books, right? So, it's like there is an element of growth that comes with committing to homeschool. And even in the lousiest book, there's still something that you can usually take away and learn from. So we just keep
Especially if
reading
you're
them.
Megan.
Yeah, I
Especially if
do.
you're Megan.
I like little knowledge nuggets from my books. But and listen, for book club, we don't even care if you read the book. We aren't judgy like that. We have people who have never read the book and still come, they still engage, they still take something away from the discussion. So yeah. And then beyond that, we've also got personalized coaching and just so much more. So like Amanda said, go to homeschoolmomsunfiltered.com because the resources you need to feel confident and homeschool successfully, they're there. We've made them.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to our list, finding your people. Number 6. This one is big. So big. Community shortens the confidence gap dramatically. We should probably say the right kind of community because if you're with the toxic people that we talked about a little while ago, that's not going to help, but the right kind of community. So not because these people are going to tell you exactly what to do, but because if they're the right kind of community, they will help normalize uncertainty and talk through what's weighing on you. It's super duper helpful to hear other people's perspectives who aren't in your panic spiral with you or who have walked a different mile and can help with your confidence journey.
Absolutely. Logically, it makes sense that you're not the only one doubting yourself or worrying, but it still makes a world of difference to hear others actually be like, oh, yeah, me too. It's so helpful. So if you're struggling to find community locally, come join ours online. Heck, even if you do have amazing community locally, come join ours. Sometimes it's just nice to have other perspectives and people from other areas or other walks of life. Just another avenue for additional perspectives and ideas. And yeah, just community. Plus, I will say for our meetings, you can show up in your pajamas, daytime or nighttime pajamas. We really don't care, with a big old glass of your favorite adult beverage, and we are not going to judge you one bit. Also, I will just quickly say if you're struggling to find community locally and you want to build it, but you're overwhelmed with where and how to even start the thing, we've created an ebook on how to build local, secular, and progressive homeschool community wherever you are. And right now, it's available exclusively to our Patreon members. So you can absolutely go check that out. It's just another option to help build confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, number 7. We are going to tell you to stop looking for permission. In our book and in our online courses, we'll teach you how to find and understand your state homeschool laws. Obviously, we need you to follow those. Okay. We're never going to show up at your CPS hearing and you're like, they said I didn't have to follow the rules. We'll be like, the hell we didn't. Like that didn't happen.
There
Okay.
aren't that many, just follow them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But beyond following the letter of the law, we are going to encourage you to stop looking for permission. If you know you're operating within the law, everything else is your decision. Do what works best for your family, your kiddo, your circumstances. You are free from systems beyond the homeschooling laws in your state. Homeschooling is flexible. That's what makes it so amazing. You're the school administrator. You get to decide. You're the teacher. You get to decide. That is a powerful mindset shift where it builds confidence to be like, I get to make this decision. And if this is what works for us, then it's the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. You can stop asking things like, can I skip worksheets? Yes, you can if that's what works best for you and your kiddos. Can I take a field trip? Of course you can if that's something that interests you. Can I quit this curriculum? Absolutely. Can I let them sleep in? Why not? Can I focus on just one subject today? Is that what you want to do? Sure. And instead, you get to focus on things like, does this serve my child? Does this align with my long term vision of success? That is a big mindset shift that once you get comfortable with it, definitely leads to confidence.
My favorite is, what can I do today? My kids are sick and I want to count this as a school day. What can I make them do so I can count that? I'm like, they're sick. Your kids are throwing up.
Yeah.
If they went to traditional school, they wouldn't be in school today. If you
Yeah.
want to put on Mrs. Frizzle, put on Mrs. Frizzle and count it as a school day, but you don't have to do those things. Like, right? But that's deschooling. And deschooling, a lot of people treat it as just a little phase at the beginning and they're like, I deschooled. And that is great. And you should do that. But those moments are definite triggers to deschool ongoing and continue to evolve out of that, because your kids do not need to watch a documentary when they're throwing up just to count it as a school day. It's okay. If they love I love a good documentary. If I was throwing up, I'd be more than happy to put on Nat Geo and see if we can figure out where Amelia Earhart's plane landed. I'd be all over that. But like, that's not your kid's jam. That's just torture. And what are they
Yeah.
going to learn from it? Because they don't feel good. So yeah. Okay. We keep bringing up differentiation and flexibility, and that's not surprising because they're two staple qualities of homeschooling. So number 8 aligns with those concepts, and it is to give yourself permission to pivot. Pivot. Are you a friends person, Amanda? Pivot.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Confident homeschoolers change course. We all change course. It isn't failing. It isn't quitting. It isn't a sign that you've dropped the ball. Changing course means that you're attuned to what's working and what's not working. It means that you know other options exist and you're open to the knowledge that something else will serve your kiddo better. That isn't failing. Failing would be the lady who buckles down and is like, I don't care what you tell me about dinosaurs. They weren't real. That's a failure. Okay. Switching it up when things are not working in your homeschooling is expert level homeschooling shit. That's top notch right there. So reframe pivoting. You're not failing, and give yourself credit for being amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Confident homeschoolers don't feel the need to stick with a curriculum that is clearly a poor fit. Confident homeschoolers don't feel obligated to start school the third week of August because that's when all of the public schools start back up. You get to pivot and forge your own path, and you have every right to do it with the confidence of the blonde girl who doesn't believe dinosaurs are real, even if there are bones. I don't, I, anyway, all right. We are up to number 9. Hopefully you're feeling more confident already. If we were in the Zoom, I'd be like, raise your hand if you're feeling, but we're not. You're just listening to the podcast. Come join us for a live. We can do that some other time. Brace yourself. You might even want to sit down. Our 9th way to build confidence as a homeschooler is to expect the messy seasons. If there's anything you take away from this podcast and listening to us on the regular, I hope it is that you know Homeschooling isn't always wonderful. We are so happy that we homeschool, but there are messy seasons. Homeschooling is just like everything else in life. It ebbs and it flows. There are highs and there are lows, the ups and the downs, the peaks and the valleys. You get it, right? I mean, I hope I'm drawing a picture here for you. If you know that going in, when you're in that valley, it feels less like a failure, less like cause for panic, and just more like the natural rhythm of things. This is life.
Yeah, every homeschool journey has seasons. The influencers are showing you the scholarships and the 12-year-olds taking college classes and their 8-year-old writing poetry in Mandarin. And that's awesome. Love that journey for them. Okay. But I'd be even happier if they showed you the 3 months they didn't crack a workbook because there was a new baby in the family and everything went to hell in a handbasket. Because that's real and that happens.
Yep.
They experience illness that throws everything for a loop too, especially those of us with multiple kids. You know those phases where when one kid gets it and then it slowly moves through the family. And then once the last kid starts feeling better, the kid who started it all in the first place is like, my throat hurts. And you're like, fuck. And it all starts all over again. I mean, we have ended up in those cycles for like 2 to 3 months sometimes where we just cannot kick it.
Mhm.
And they are brutal and they are exhausting. And we are all not at our most productive and finest in those times. And it's totally okay. Expect the messy season, but also know that it will pass.
Absolutely. And there will also be mental health lulls, winter blues, or just burnout in general. Family emergencies are inevitable. Unfortunately, death and grieving happen. If you know this, if you're prepared for it to happen at some point, hopefully you won't beat yourself up about it when you're actually in the thick of it. Because your confidence as a homeschooler shouldn't be in question by anyone, honestly, but especially by you. If you are taking the time to grieve a loved one or deal with a completely unexpected change in family circumstances, that's normal. That's life, just as it is also homeschooling.
I mean, heck, I'll even add a pet. Losing a pet is brutal. Take all the time you need. It's okay. I was just talking to another homeschool mom about how I'm going to have to unfollow Simon Sitz, who does all this rescue work in New York City, because her dog got diagnosed with cancer. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to come along for this journey. Like, I'm going to have to take a year off from this account because I'm going to be a mess and it's not even my dog. So it's okay. Take that time. All right. Beyond all of that, let's talk about puberty and perimenopause. And the fun fact that a lot of times, depending on how old you were when you had your kids, and if your kid is a late bloomer or you're an early bloomer or whatever, a lot of times they overlap. So while your kid is in like peak puberty, you're in peak perimenopause, which is super duper fun. I mean, talk about a hormonal shitstorm, but it's okay. Zoom out. Look at the big picture. A confident homeschooler doesn't assume that every hard season is a sign that you suck at homeschooling and that it's always going to be that way. It's a season. It'll turn. Be patient. It's okay.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Now, last, but certainly not least, number 10, invest in learning before you invest in curriculum. So, look, we get it. For most new homeschoolers, their very first decision is which curriculum they'll use. I was there. Megan definitely did some of that with her unit study stuff. This is one of those hold up, wait a minute moments for us. If you are about to spend $800 on curriculum and $300 on manipulatives and another $200 on planners and whiteboards, can we please implore you to just slow down a little bit, okay? A lot of people end up realizing they've just spent $1,300 on stuff that isn't a great fit for their family because they didn't spend enough time focusing on how their children learn, how to actually choose curriculum beyond maybe asking in a Facebook group or something like that. All of the many ways homeschooling can look. This is a big one. We buy a set curriculum that looks like what was probably used in their brick and mortar school. And that doesn't have to be what your homeschool day looks like day in and day out. And they also forget to just take some time to focus on what success is to them and their specific child or children.
Exactly. Imagine a scenario where you're moving to a new state. What research would you do before you sign on the dotted line for a lease or a mortgage? We've moved a lot. So for me, I'm looking at school ratings, even though I know I damn well never plan to use the school system, but I also know that it's going to affect the resale value if I own my house. Okay. And that people who might want to buy my house do want a good school system. I'm looking at the sex offender registry to make sure that my neighbor isn't on parole and sitting over there in his tidy whities rebuilding hard drive collections of kiddie porn because I don't want to live next door to that. I'm checking on my kids' extracurricular activities and seeing where the concentration of stuff that's important to us is so that I don't end up living on the other side of town from all the things that they want to do. And then every day when I want to take them somewhere, I have to cross the entire city during rush hour to drop my kids off or pick my kids up. So imagine skipping all of that stuff and just putting a map of Raleigh, San Diego, wherever you're going on the wall. You put a blindfold on and you throw a dart at the city, and wherever the dart hits, that's where you're going to live. What are the odds that that's going to be the perfect neighborhood for you? And I'm going to go with probably not that great. So knowledge and preparation saves you money and stress. And if you're buying curriculum without having done a whole bunch of foundation work, and again, I do not mean asking in a Facebook group. That is truly, I'm not a curriculum person, but I'll tell you, it's like the worst, the worst, the worst. I mean, I understand why people do it. Where else are you going to go? There are way better ways to choose curriculum. Okay. But basically going into a group and saying, I'm new and I'll be homeschooling third grade. What curriculum programs are great is throwing a dart at the city of San Diego to choose your neighborhood. Like, please, please, please do not do this. So knowledge and preparation will save you money and stress in the long run. And it will also build confidence that when you hit buy now on whatever that thing turns out to be, you know it's the best choice for you. And you've built a foundation that that decision rests on, and you know that it's strong. And I mean, yes, of course, we have a book, we have an online course that can help you choose curriculum. And as it's going to be way stronger than going into a Facebook group and being like, what should I do? So yeah, please, please, please don't throw a dart at the wall to choose homeschool curriculum. It's not going to go well. And then you're going to think you suck and you're a failure and your kid's never going to amount to anything. And it's just not going to get you anywhere good.
Well, yeah. And then you're the person who's also then in the Facebook group saying, I don't think this works. We're going to have to go back to brick and mortar school.
Mhm.
Don't set yourself up for failure. These take the time. It's definitely worth the confidence that comes along with it. Okay.
Mhm.
So we did it. We've done it all 10 for you to mull over. We'd love for you to take with you the reassurance that just about every homeschool parent has doubts and fears at some point, usually multiple points throughout their homeschool journey. We'd love for you to take with you the reassurance that just about every homeschool grown up has doubts and fears, sometimes once, but oftentimes multiple times throughout their homeschooling journey. The goal with these tips is to become the homeschool grown up who knows how to work through those doubts without letting them make every decision, without letting that lack of confidence, that fear, that FOMO, whatever it is, make the decisions for you. Confidence isn't the absence of uncertainty. It's the willingness to move forward anyway. You can do this. And we are here to help with truly oodles of resources to support your journey and wherever you're at in that. And as always, we would like to wrap up the episode with our mantra. So our mantra for this week, it's just one more little tool to help you when the doubts kick in. So we've got confidence isn't something you find. It's something you build. You are doing great and you've got this.
You do. You've got this.
Yeah.
Awesome job, everybody. All right. Well, hopefully we will see you in a future Patreon meeting. We would love to meet you. But in the meantime, happy homeschooling.
Yeah. Have a great one.